And welcome back to the Zolteus Gaming Channel. I'm your host, Zolteus. Back with another update to Empire of Sin. So, a little bit more information now on the much anticipated Precincts update, which is really just update 1.05. But they go into a little bit more detail, and I wanted to take time to kind of go over some of those things. So, previously for Empire of Sin, it was you built up rackets, you took over neighborhoods based on having a majority of the neighborhood. Sometimes you'd kick some of the other bosses out. But either way, it was a lot more, I guess, modular is the right word to use. So you went about it single-handedly. You know, take this, take out a boss. Take this, take out, so on and so forth. Where what we've really needed is kind of more strategy, because it was very easy to go in, just take down a boss and move on. They put a little bit more strategy into it with 1.04, where you had to take out so many of a boss's rackets in an area in order to reveal the boss's hideout. Now we're adding a new layer of strategy in the precincts. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is precincts. So like I had said, it was you take over rackets, single rackets, you take out a boss, game over, right? Well, here now, rackets are divided into precincts. Well, buildings are, and then you make rackets out of them. But certain precincts will have certain properties that you as the player or the AI will either find desirable or not so desirable. In this case, what it says here is every inch of the city becomes a valuable asset because they are grouped into larger territories. As you can see here, one of the messages, precincts lines crossed. So now you're going to start seeing a lot more boss activity on you when you spend more time in a precinct. So here's the thing. Not all precincts are equal. We knew that was going to be a thing. Some are larger, better located, make more money, so there's much more advantages to occupying certain precincts. However, if you are like me, you will find strategic value in owning the smaller precincts, especially to start building up that base that you need. Here's the other thing. AI is aware and will look towards the number of building precincts has, so on and so forth, before deciding what it wants to do. Now we have more calculations to consider, and once again, we can make that an advantage or a disadvantage, but either way, this will put more strategy into how you run an empire based on, say, which boss you choose. Expansion. So when it comes to taking new precincts, there are changes to combat. Every precinct has a depot. We knew that was coming. However, how you take a precinct will determine many different factors. One, are you methodical? Do you like to go after each of the rackets that a boss has in that precinct and then take out the depot? Or are you gung-ho? Are you, rip-roaring ready to go? And do you go straight for that depot? What it used to be was maybe if you had a racket right next to it, the racket outside guards would help out. Here's some of the changes that they're making now. Every precinct has a depot, which is a control building, right? That's fine. You claim the depot, you claim the precinct. Here's the other thing. Depots are heavily guarded, and when under attack, draw reinforcements from surrounding rackets to help with the onslaught. That's a change. So now, if you're rip-roaring ready to go, you better have a very, very well-geared group going in there, because you might be overwhelmed with let's call them NPC level guards, right? But instead of just 2 or 3, 5 or 6 inside, the 2 or 3 outside may eventually get help from 3 or 4 outside, and then the 5 or 6 inside may get more help once you have taken a certain amount of time or something like that. I'm sure they're still, figuring out some of the kinks with that. But yeah, I mean, now it's definitely something to take into account, because you absolutely are going to have to worry about reinforcements if you are not methodical. Now, some people are, and that's just the way that they go about doing that. I think that's a great addition because it now makes you put more strategy into how you take a precinct, especially if you take it from someone else. This gives you two options: attack and loot the rackets, or go right for the depot, like I was saying. Attacking the depot offers a long, more tactical fight with a bigger risk, although if you win, gaining the whole precinct could potentially swing the balance in your favor. So there are pros and cons to the methodical and the, I guess what you want to call it, kamikaze. Next thing is there's more taxis now. You can use Sal's taxi cabs. There's to your advantage. He's made more taxi ranks available. Still, but it's not going to be per precinct, but instead of the 2 or 3 that you have in a neighborhood now, we'll probably be looking at more like 10. So you can taxi to neighborhoods now, and that's going to help strategically. Next, quick thing on supply lines. They're still going to be a thing. We knew that was going to happen, but it has more now to do with AI consideration for supply lines. As you can see, the introduction of supply lines means that the AI has become a lot more focused on how it operates and is making some clever deductions. So basically that means it's going to take its own supply lines into account. It's going to take your supply lines into account, and probably depending on difficulty of the game that you've set it on, will attack accordingly. So more strategy into how you maintain supply lines and how you break supply lines. Last, police. So police were a thing, but they were kind of abstract. They didn't do a lot, right, for the game. They were there. If you attacked them, they attacked you. You could bribe police chief, so on and so forth. And, occasionally you'd have your rackets raided. Sometimes they would shut stuff down. Cool. But there really wasn't a consistency to it. You didn't know just how alert the police were to your rackets. Well, they have introduced police activity to the game. Their intentions are now a lot more transparent. With Precincts, police activity is a precinct-wide value that is easier for you to keep track, but that also means it's easier for the police chief to know how much money he's going to get from you if you want the police to, say, back off a little bit. Bribing is still done through diplomacy, but here's the thing. The law enforcement now will take a more active role in either raiding or turning the blind eye based on how you bribe the police chief. So there is more depth to the police now. Why is police activity important? The more police in your precinct, the harder it is for you to make money. Customers are less likely to go around when police presence is strong. Racket profits will dwindle. So that's also something you have to keep in mind, lending to that strategy. So that's going to be, I'm really looking forward to the precinct update, because this is going to add a whole new layer to Empire of Sin's strategy, and it's going to allow us to play all of the bosses, and I mean all of them, much differently, because before we all knew, this guy's combat, this guy's deployment, so on and so forth. But now with all these things changing, it adds a new layer to every single boss. Some of them are going to be better equipped for certain things. Some of them are going to be better equipped for others. It's going to add a depth of gameplay that I am really looking forward to. But that's going to do it for this Precinct update. Still no specific dates that I have seen for release, but we know it's going to be coming soonish. So that's going to do it for this update info. Like and subscribe for more content. And as always, I will see you in the next video.